Okay, well, on Saturday we came up and we started with this piece of ground because here the soil is basically fairly light and sandy, and it's been a bit wet just recently, so it was a decent bit of soil to try and start on. What we did, we cut out the sheet of Mypex because there's Mypex laid down here which keeps all the weeds down. We took that out completely, so we had a piece of soil underneath which is firm where we've been walking on it. So I forked that with a small fork, and when I forked it I incorporated into it some blended farm manure and some compost, and also some more, which is fertiliser for all vegetables. Freeze them for about 6, 8, 9 weeks, and also I put a little bit of osmocote in, which is a granular slow release fertiliser which lasts about 3 months. So firstly we need to decide what we're going to set. Things we could put in are, I think, just to start with, is a row of lettuce, a row of carrots and some beetroot. They're all fairly easy to do, reasonably successful, not too many problems with them. Each row we plant we'll need to mark, and I think a good idea is to have canes and put either end. So when you put your first row in, you put a cane that end and a cane that end, and then your next row will go in somewhere like that. What I think is a good idea is to have a little plan of your plot when you start, and just make a note where you put things, because labels get kicked out and when things come up they all look the same. Right, so we need to form a small channel to put some seeds in. You could use a string between the two canes to get a straight line, but I prefer to use a board like that. Just hold the board like that and draw out a small line, groove like that along the soil. Pretty good. Not too deep, probably about, I don't know, inch. We'll start with carrots, because I've got the packet open. So we'll put the carrot seed into the palm of the hand again. Well proven method, plenty of seed there, probably enough. I always tend to sow things too thickly. Again, it's the old salt and pepper job. As you go along you can see the seeds falling into the row. I'm probably putting a few too many in, but you can thin them out later. You don't know what germination will be like. It may be 100%, well probably not 100%, but it might be 80, 90%. Or it might not be as good. Some things germinate a lot better than others. A very poor germinator, for example, which you're not sowing today, is parsnips. You need to put loads in and keep going and checking. Right, so that's plenty of seed in that particular groove. I backfill really with my hands, because you need to get some compost soil on top of the seeds you've sown. And I've always done it that way and it's been pretty successful, so I don't change the way I'm doing it. And it's quite moist at the moment, so it's not going to dry out. So you don't really, I just tend to go along like that and firm it with my hand like that. And that's the first row in. So that's a row of carrots. Now we need to decide what we can put in next. We'll put beetroot in. I'm not sure what the spacings are on carrot and beetroot, but if you look on the back of seed packets, it gives you everything you need to know. So for example, on beetroots, you know you need to sow 12 inches apart. So the next row wants to go there, which will give the carrots are very similar as well. So we need to go about 12 inches. You don't have to be precise, you just measure it by that. That to me looks good. We've got plenty of space here. So the next row is going to go there. What I'm trying to avoid doing this morning is treading on this plot, because it's very wet and it will go down, which is not a good idea. So I'm trying to keep off a bit with my feet. Put the second 2 lots of canes in. Not got to forget to make this plan afterwards what we got going where. Try and keep it straight. Again, I'm going to do it by eye. I'm not actually going to measure it. That one like that. Now, another trick is, if you want to go on the ground, you can sort of use a board. It'd be okay to put that board up close away from the row you've just planted. Won't cause any problems there, and stand on that board now to do your work for the next row, which is like so. Going to go down, but it doesn't matter. Draw out the row, like so. There we go. Things that are sown early seem to be slow to grow, and the things that are sown later seem to catch them up, so you do need to space them reasonably, because as you go on they'll catch up the other ones. But beetroot's excellent for sowing in the ground. You can keep eating it as we did this year right through the winter, and carrots pretty much the same. Beetroot's quite a big seed. You can see what you're doing with that. Again, not too many. You can thin them out. You do need to thin them out. If you end up with too many plants, you know, you probably want to plant every, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches eventually, ideally. Never works out quite like that. But they, again, they all seem to be okay. You get some big ones and some small ones, some crowded ones, but not a problem really. So I think that's probably enough. Filling it back in, like so. As I say, I'm not too, if it's a very dry season, you'd be really quite concerned about getting it firmed down, because when you firm ground down, you keep the moisture in. Certainly this time of year, you wouldn't be watering any of this. There's enough moisture in this ground for the next month. You won't need to water these plants in the next month, whatever happens. In the middle of summer, if you're setting them, you sometimes have to water them quite quickly in a few days if it hasn't rained to get them through. So that's the second row in. We'll go for one more row. The favourite variety, Cos Little Gem. Not too big, easy to lettuce is an easy thing to grow. You can't fail with lettuce. There's not too many problems with beetroot. Carrot can get carrot root fly, but there are things you can do to stop that. The other thing, once things start to come up, a bit of you might need to use slug pellets to stop the slugs chewing your plants up. Nowadays there's some quite friendly chemicals in these. They don't harm the birds and all sorts of things. The metahaldehyde, it used to be very good, wasn't good for birds. You can't get that anymore. Put that one in there. Again, we're doing all this guesswork, but we've got lots of space here, so I'm not worried. Historically I tend to put things too close together, which is not good. Right, you can use a hoe on its edge like that to cut a groove, and you can use a long handle one so you don't have to bend. If you're struggling a little bit of bending, it's perhaps a bit more comfortable to do it with that. So that's quite a decent little groove for there for your lettuce. I would think there'll be thousands of seeds in this packet. Somewhere around the back, it'll tell me. It's all used for like 900 seeds, which would produce 800 seeds, lettuce plants, I guess, and so you shouldn't ever need more than one packet of these for this whole season. Very, quite small seed. Little seed. That's probably, I mean, temptation is to get too many. You don't need to, and just sprinkle them in. Again, too many going in there, but you can thin them out as they come up. This is the easy bit, sowing the seed. Then you've got to start watching things and thinning out and things like that. But it seems to be a good week to do it because the weather's coming a little bit warmer, and seeds will germinate in the ground if the soil starts to get a little warmer, which it will, I think. So I think we're probably, although it's wet, I think it's a good time to be doing it. Just cover it over again. The other way to firm this down is with a board. To get a piece of board that length and just push the board on top gently. Always gently. You're not trying to compress it, you're just trying to just seal that moisture in. That's all. Although I personally think the canes and having a little plan of what you set is a good idea, but it is for me because I forget what I've put where, and everything looks the same when it comes up. If you set 2 different varieties of lettuce, you'll never remember or recognise which is each. So that's okay. The other thing to do, if you're a bit more keen and very careful not to knock them out, is just to get a label like this. You can get longer ones maybe in the garden. Just write Cos lettuce on it, or whatever it is. We haven't got a Cos lettuce here, we've got Little Gem. Wait, using your label, using if your quick dry pen, which will dry on there and it'll stay on there for the season, and just pop that in either end or one end. Probably the end you're less likely to knock it out from. So that's quite a good idea. And all you've got to do then is stand back for a few days, maybe about, I would think you start to see something growing here this time of year. You won't see much for a couple of weeks. And it's not like indoors where you've got to watch carefully for germination. You just got to keep an eye on it.